What's up, everybody? This is Kenny Stubblefield, and to my left, your right, is BCM, Bluff City Media's beat writer for the Memphis Tiger basketball program, Roman Cleary. What's up, Roman?
Doing good. This is the first time I've been on air for Bluff City Media, so it's a pretty surreal experience. I kind of wish it wasn't for this, but at
I
the
know,
same
right?
time,
Yeah.
it's also a big opportunity.
Yeah, well, obviously, some big news dropped today that we need to discuss, and that's that fifth year grad transfer. Jordan Brown, center Jordan Brown, has left the team, and he will not be playing for the Tigers anymore. Obviously, there's a lot of news, a lot of you know trying to figure out what's going on, why it happened, and where he's going to go, but all we can say at this point is that he's no longer with the Tigers. Roman, when we got the news, what was your initial response to that news?
Dare I say indifference? Because I think any Tiger fan or media analyst or what have you had reasonably high expectations for someone of Jordan Brown. You're talking about someone that averaged, 19.3 points a game and 8.6 rebounds, won the Lou Henson Award, which of course goes to college basketball's best mid-major player. He's a 6'11" transfer center from Louisiana, for those that don't know. And I think we can all fairly say that he got out to a relatively underwhelming start. I mean, he
Right.
was down to an average of 6 points and 4 boards a game, which is very below his standards. I guess, just got to a point where he was barely even seeing time on the floor
Hmm.
because he was getting ran off. Uh, we saw a little bit of his lack of conditioning, I want to say, in the Bahamas. I mean, we were hearing rumblings about that pretty soon after he even committed to Memphis back in June. But we saw it in the Bahamas, and I think we were all running from the assumption at that point, yeah, he looks kind of out of shape, kind of run down right now, but he hadn't been playing for a little bit. He just got on the campus, just
Hmm.
joined the team, yada yada yada. So I think we all kind of thought this will be fixed up by the time the regular season begins. We're in August now, and the season doesn't start till November. He'll be fine by that point. But season in November, and it's better, but not by much. He's still very much limited in the amount of minutes that he's playing. And then we get to the Bahamas, we get to the Battle for Atlantis, and that's when it really reaches its boiling point. He barely plays in the games against Michigan, Arkansas, and Villanova. I mean, in the Villanova game particularly, he just didn't have any impact at all. And then that translated to Ole Miss, where he played just 7 minutes after getting fouls in the first 1 minute and 23 seconds of the game. That's just, dare I say, unacceptable and bad for someone
Hmm.
of his caliber. It's just very, very disappointing. And it's still a loss for the Tigers because you are now left with a front court that's extremely thin. You have two very capable players in Malcolm Dandridge and Nick Jourdain. This isn't a situation like last year where Malcolm Dandridge gets hurt and then the front court's basically done because Chandler Lawson is forced to play the five, and he's just not very good there. He looked very good there for the majority of last season because he's not a five, he's a four. And Keota Akubundu-Egyogu, he just was borderline unplayable. And DeAndre, he just didn't play the five because he can play the five, but he's not a five. So it's not as dire of a situation in the front court as it was last year, but still, you're stuck with just Dandridge and Jourdain. Now, we have heard some rumblings of reporting from Bluff City Media that Memphis is interested in the Kansas State transfer, Naquan Tomlin. Of course, he was missed from the KSU program after getting into some off the court issues, struggles in the offseason, or yeah, just before the season started. It was like in the preseason more as opposed to the offseason. It's not really our place to speak on it, obviously, but he was dismissed from the program more or less. Very controversial situation. He has a lot of suitors in the portal right now, and it's going to be a very good mid-season grad transfer for whoever ends up landing him. We know right now that it's, from Memphis's perspective, it's not really serious interest, but I do wonder if they're going to try and turn that heat up a little bit more now that Jordan is gone. But assuming that they don't, this leaves the front court very, very thin, which I think is the biggest loss of all when you're talking about Jordan Brown leaving the Tigers. But The player itself, very much an indifferent reaction there.
So obviously, coming into this season, the Tigers, every pundit, everybody that was talking about the Memphis Tiger front court said, "Wow, with Jordan, potentially bringing Malcolm back, with Nick, potentially getting DeAndre back off waiver,
Which didn't happen.
which never happened, obviously. But what could this front court look like, and could this front court be a dominant piece to a Tiger national championship run? Let's be real. A lot of us were talking about,
yeah,
like,
sure.
I
mean, even
second,
the
third
players
weekend.
themselves. I mean, Malcolm Dandridge said, I think after the Lane game, the exhibition game, that he thinks that this is the best front court in the country.
Right.
And that was before we knew what was going to happen with DeAndre Williams. So,
yeah.
I mean, obviously hopes were very high.
So does this change? Does Jordan Brown leaving the Tigers, does it change the ceiling for the Tigers? Does it like legitimately, not just in people's expectations of what the ceiling could be, but does this change what the Tigers can become later on in the season as the tournament rolls around?
Well, I think that's a very complicated question right there, because you're looking at it, I think, from two different perspectives. The one where Jordan Brown sticks to what he is right now, and the one where he improves as play rolls along, and he eventually becomes at least somewhat of the version of the dominant player that we were expecting. Working under the latter version, I mean, I think it's undeniable that the ceiling changes a little bit, because no offense to Malcolm Dandridge or Nick Jourdain, but Jordan Brown is easily the most talented guy in that front court room right there. And, assuming that he eventually figured it out and at least became the best big man on the team,
right?
That version of him definitely makes an impact. It's definitely a loss, but just based off the way that he's playing right now, no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. In fact, I think you could make an argument that it actually raised the Tigers' ceiling a little bit. I know that's kind of an outlandish and maybe a harsh thing to say, but
wow.
that's just the way the way I think you have to put it. Of what he's doing out there right now. I mean, we're Bluff City media, but we're objective. We have to cover this team from an unbiased point of view, and just based off of that, he just hasn't been good enough based off of what we expect out of him, what the fans expected out of him, what I would guess the program of him. But I don't know what else there is to say right there. I mean, based off the way he's playing right now, is this the biggest bust Memphis has had since like Adonis Thomas?
I mean,
or something like that. I mean,
that's a good question. I mean, the expectation and hype coming in 2021 with Amani was off the charts. I wonder if, obviously he left the team for a while, came back, but really didn't do much while he was playing. You could consider Amani a bust, but I think everybody kind of very quickly understood Amani was 17 years old, right? And had no business. He should have been back in high school for another year, more than likely.
yeah.
But I guess I already know what Memphis fans are going to say when all this news comes out.
Oh no, they're going to completely say, "Oh, addition by subtraction." That's what they're going to say for sure.
And I think another thing is going to be talked about. Another theme is drama-filled seasons with Penny. What are your thoughts on that? You've been covering the team. You're a student at the University of Memphis. You've been around this team for a long time. What are your thoughts? Like, what would you say to Memphis fans that are saying, gosh, can we not just have one season of no drama?
I'd say that I cannot blame them, because
no, not at all.
You have the 2019 year, which just was filled with NCAA nonsense and Memphis, I think, unwisely making the decision to play James Wiseman in the finals of the NCAA. 2 years later, you bring in perhaps the most hyped roster in America. You just covered the Imani stuff right there. Jalen Duren got off to a bad start. Penny, I think, indirectly caused a lot of tension in that locker room with his comments based off of what he said after the Ole Miss game, where it was like, I need the veterans to step up. And then a few games later, he was like, oh, it's the younger guys to step up. So
what a wild time that was, right?
Yeah, for sure. So it's not that. I don't know if we're ever going to get to that point again, but still, this is another piece of off the court drama that I think most people thought impossible based off of how much maturity and experience and talent this team had. I mean, based off of what we saw preseason, this team was all business, no nonsense. We're not going to get involved in any of that stuff.
Yeah, right.
Javon Cleary, he looks completely locked in. David Jones, completely locked in, and he has since the season started. Walton, same deal. Jaden, Malcolm, all these guys, same deal. It just seemed like a no nonsense, all business type of team that was just going to go in there, the group that they are, and I guess just do whatever it is they need to do to win at a high level. Because that's what this team's designed to do. This team is not supposed to be another 8-9 seed. That's not what Penny had in mind when putting this team together. When you put together a group of Kendrick Davis, DeAndre Williams, and then a bunch of mid-major guys, yeah, you're probably thinking more of an 8-9 seed right there. That's okay. I'm stretched thin, portal, can't really get much done because of the NCAA stuff looming over my head and things of that nature. Because remember, that was right after the official sanctions got handed down, and we were all thinking at that point, is Memphis going to get a postseason ban? But you didn't have any of those restrictions this past offseason, so Memphis was able to build, I think, among the most talented transfer portal classes in all of America. I mean, this team is not supposed to
No doubt.
be an 8 seed. It's not. It's not supposed to get involved in all this drama, which ultimately its campaign. But yet here we are again. I mean, I think if I can see some overreactions happening right there, but
1,000%. Yeah.
But at a surface level, I'm so tired of this drama. If you're just saying that, yeah, I cannot say I blame you.
100%. I agree. So let's end this, Roman, with just a recap of what's going on. Jordan Brown, fifth-year transfer from Louisiana, Lou Henson Award winner, best mid-major player in America, transferred to the Tigers, has now 7 games in, left the Tigers. 8 games in, has left the Tigers, and is not expected back. So really crazy news, especially as the Tigers go on the road to play Texas A&M, top 20 matchup on the road on Sunday. But yeah, stay tuned to Bluff City Media. Stay tuned to Roman Cleary. Roman, you're killing it, bro. You're doing a great job. Stay tuned to him. Check us out on Twitter, YouTube, everything. BluffCityMedia.co. Check out all the articles there. Come hang out with us. Up-to-date information. Join the Discord, and you can talk to Roman. You can talk to Hitmen. You can talk to everybody in there about all this. So with that, let's get out of here.
Peace out, y'all.